You know, when most of us think about meditation, we think of it as maybe a way to de-stress or get a little more focus. But what if I told you that's just scratching the surface? Okay, let's dive into this. Because the traditional theory behind Buddhist meditation is way more than that. It's this profound path, a complete system for totally transforming the mind. We're going to go beyond the basics here and really get into the why behind the whole practice. And that brings us to the core question for this whole explainer. I mean, if it's not just about calming down after a crazy day at work, then what's the end game? What is the ultimate destination this path is actually designed to lead us to? Just keep that question in the back of your mind as we go. So before you can understand a solution, you've got to have a really clear picture of the problem, right? And in this tradition, the problem isn't something out there in the world. It's all internal. The real source of our stress and dissatisfaction comes from what are called mental defilements or poisons, things like greed, hatred, and delusion. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. See, these mental poisons aren't just one big messy blob. They actually exist on three distinct levels. Way up at the surface, you've got transgression. That's when these feelings spill out into harmful words or actions. Then, a little deeper, you have manifestation, which is where they're bubbling up as negative thoughts and emotions inside your head. And then way down at the very bottom, the deepest level, you've got the latent tendencies. These are the dormant roots of the problem. And the path is a systematic treatment for each and every level. Okay, so if that's the problem, broken down into its different layers, how do we actually fix it? Well, the system gives us two primary tools. Two different, but, totally complementary types of meditation that are designed to purify the mind. And this is just a brilliant way to understand the two approaches. On one side, you have Samatha or Serenity meditation. The whole goal there is to build concentration, and it works by suppressing those active defilements. A great way to think about it is like pressing a weed down so you can't see it anymore. On the other side, you've got Vipassanā, or insight meditation. Its goal is wisdom, and it works by completely uprooting the defilements. It's not just hiding the weed, it's pulling it out, root and all, so it can never grow back. And this is a really crucial point. While other serenity and concentration practices were around in India before the Buddha, this path of Vipassanā, this method of gaining direct insight that actually uproots the mind's poisons for good, that's considered his unique discovery. It's the key that really unlocks the door to liberation. Now, anyone who's ever tried to meditate for more than 30 seconds knows it is not always easy. Your mind doesn't just sit still because you tell it to. The path has its own predictable challenges, and these are known as the Five Hindrances. And here they are, the big five: sensual desire, ill will, dullness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry, and finally, doubt. These are pretty much the main roadblocks that pop up when we try to get the mind to settle down. So let's look at each one, because the ancient texts give them some beautiful and incredibly accurate analogies. First up, sensual desire. This is the mind just wanting, craving, getting pulled toward all the pleasant sights and sounds and feelings. And the analogy is perfect. It's like trying to see your own reflection in a bowl of water that someone just swirled a bunch of colorful paints into. Your view is completely clouded by all the pretty distractions. Next, we have ill will. This is the mind in a state of anger or frustration or just plain old aversion. The text compares this to trying to see your reflection in a pot of boiling water. The surface is turbulent, it's agitated, it's steaming. You can't see a thing clearly. Your perception is totally distorted by the heat of that emotion. And this third one, I think we're all pretty familiar with this one: dullness and drowsiness. This is when the mind just gets heavy and foggy and starts to sink. It's described as water that's been overgrown with moss. No light can get through, and you can't see a reflection because the whole surface is covered in this thick, murky gunk. Then, of course, there's restlessness and worry. This is the classic monkey mind, right? Jumping all over the place from one thought to the next, just unable to settle. It's like water being churned up by a strong wind. The surface is choppy and chaotic, making a clear reflection totally impossible. Your mind just can't find a moment of stillness. And the final hindrance is doubt. Now, this isn't healthy intellectual curiosity. This is a kind of paralyzing indecision, a lack of confidence that just stops you in your tracks. The analogy here is muddy water that's been left in a dark place. You can't see a reflection, not just because it's murky, but because you're not even sure it's worth the effort to look. So after navigating all these obstacles and using both serenity and insight to work with the mind, where does this path actually lead? Well, it leads to a progressive, step-by-step purification, which all culminates in total freedom. Let's take a look at how this journey builds to its final destination. This is what's known as the super mundane path, and it has 4 clear stages of realization. It starts with stream entry, where a person gets their first direct glimpse of nibbana and is literally guaranteed to reach the final goal eventually. And with each stage after that, once returner, non-returner, deeper layers of these defilements, or fetters, get weaker and are then totally eradicated until you reach the final stage. And that final stage is called arahantship. An arahant is someone who has finished the journey. They've completely uprooted all 10 of those fetters, including the deepest one of all, ignorance. This is the full realization of the goal we asked about at the very beginning, the complete and total liberation of the mind from suffering. So yeah, that is the profound theory. It's kind of a lot, right? But the most beautiful thing about this path is that it doesn't just stay up in the clouds as some abstract idea. It all starts with a single, very practical first step. The question is, how do you actually begin?
The most common method taught is mindfulness of breathing, and it's incredibly simple. First, just find a posture that's upright but also relaxed, not stiff. Second, pick an object for your attention. This can be the physical feeling of the breath at the tip of your nostrils, or maybe the gentle rising and falling of your abdomen. And third, you just practice. You keep your attention on that sensation. When your mind inevitably wanders off, and trust me, it will, you just gently, without any judgment, guide it back. That's it. That's the very first step on the entire path.
So we've basically walked the entire path, from understanding the mind's poisons to the tools you use to purify them, past all the common obstacles, all the way to the final destination of liberation. So the final question really is for you. As you look at those 5 hindrances, which one feels the most familiar? What's the first obstacle on your own mental journey that you'd like to understand a little better?